can be your hero, baby. Man, this song is so chill. No rev. No rev. No. This is the problem, right? Spotify Premium means I can just skip everything and fry my attention span. Oh, don't crash your car now, Joel. Yes, this will do. This will do. It's max volume this shit. Wowza. I am a blank page before you. I am the fine idea you crave. Right, good morning. It is the 22nd of January. It's a Wednesday, and I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling great. It's been a good start to the week on many levels, and I'm feeling very grateful for the things that I get to do in life and the position I'm in and all that. So, good vibes. What have I learned recently then? Well, I finished the book, The Courage to be Disliked, and I've started, oh, don't throw shit everywhere, Joel. I've started Mastery by Robert Greene. It's deep, it's big, it's lengthy. You know, a lot of stories about different characters throughout history, masters throughout history, allegedly. And it's good so far. Done chapter 1, and chapter 1 kind of links into a couple of other things I've been thinking about that I picked up from The Courage to be Disliked and stuff. Mainly about how we should approach work and the things we do if we're lucky enough in our lives. Rather than seeing work as something that we do in order to get a job to then earn money, or to just acquire resources, or to just level up in a level of, I don't know, social status or whatever, just for the material or just for the outcome, right? Instead, we should see work as a way for us to contribute to the community. Like that's from Courage to be Disliked, that's the general notion that we work to create a feeling of community around ourselves, that we are a member of the community and that we have worth, and we only see our worth when it's reflected back to us in how we affect people and how we affect the community around us. And that's how we get this feeling that it's okay to be us and it's okay to be here because we are a valuable contributing member of the community. And that doesn't necessarily have to be like work as in, you know, I'll build you a house or whatever. The book argues that work can be seen as how present you are with another person. You know, what's the quality of a relationship like with that person? How do you support them through a difficulty? How do you make them feel? You know, just on an average day, can you bring some light and some brightness to someone else's life? That in itself is work from the book's definition, but it's still contributing positively to the community. You're not doing it for a specific outcome. You're not doing it for you, I guess. You're doing it just to contribute, to be a beneficial component of the world around you. And then I'm reading Mastery, and the first paragraph talks about finding your vocation, which is like your calling. What calls to you in life? What interests you deeply? What makes your heart burn with passion? You know, what do you wake up looking forward to doing? And how can you then get so good at that, become a master of that, to then make that what the world pays you resources to do? Just so, you know, it's not about the resources, but it's about doing the thing. But can you do the thing so well that the world gives you resources so that you can continue to do the thing, if that makes sense? And I like that idea of it being a calling, you know, because I don't think I or any of us necessarily choose what we are interested in, do we? It just appears to us in a feeling, in an intuitive inclination. Like, why am I interested in psychology? Because it resonated with me on some level. I learned something and it clicked with a way that I've been thinking about the world, and I didn't realize that was psychology. Or when I learn about multiple theories that layer on top of one another, it enhances my view on the world. It gives my view on the world more clarity. I see life through more, you know, for a higher resolution. And I didn't know if I consciously choose, all right, I'm now going to be interested in this. It just happened. It called to me. And he talks also in this chapter about your vocation being the niche that you exist within in the world of work that is unique to you. It's a niche of one, right? It's an N of one sample, because you have a level of uniqueness in the multitude of things and the combination of the things that you're interested in and passionate about. And I think about that for me, and I go, okay, well, from an outside third person perspective, I'm a wheelchair basketball player, and that's probably primarily what the world views me as. I'm a student as well, but I don't really talk about my degree too much because it doesn't really interest me on a deep level. But that's only one strand of the niche. I feel like I'm also deeply, deeply fascinated by, and I wrote about this morning, about the psyche and the spirit, and how these can be enhanced through philosophical understanding, through intention or mindset, and through psychedelic exploration, right? Enhancing the psyche and spirit. And that means that my niche in the world of work has components of what it means to be a person with a disability, what it means to be a high-level athlete, the personal development techniques and processes that you need to get to a high level in sport. Then you've got the bits about psychology and about philosophy and about spirituality, and that makes up the Joel Clifton package. And it's like, okay, that's the stuff that I enjoy, and maybe enjoy is quite a weak word for that. That's the stuff that gives me an excruciating level of interest and enthusiasm. So how can I deepen my knowledge in this field such that I can share what I've learned with the world and create value and contribute to the community? I think it's doable. I just need to keep learning, man. Keep being disciplined to learn and to write and to train and to think and to not get distracted, I guess, not get my attention captured by shit that does not matter. The narratives that the world imprints on you, or the things that try and capture your attention in this sort of, I don't know, the advertising or the political ideology and things like this. Just understand your vocation and try and pursue it. Right, we're going on side quests. Maybe it's the main quest. Maybe it's a subplot of the main quest. But we're going to uni to go and train. I feel good, man. I had 2 decent meals. Leaving later than usual. Sometimes I go for an individual shooting session at like 2 o'clock, but today I'm just going straight to the uni session that starts at 5, and then I'm training with the Premier League female team at 6. So I'm going to ring my mum on the way there, see if she picks up, see if she's free. We can natter on and catch up on life. That's usually the Friday routine. And yeah, if mum don't answer, we'll just whack on some good tunes or a podcast or something and hit the road. Hour drive. I do a lot of driving for the shit that I do, right? But I don't mind driving. It gives me time to think, space to
prepare in the time
Jordan
of
Peterson, bruv.
Christ.
Trying to talk to the people, man. Don't interrupt me. You legend. What was I saying? Yeah, it gives me time to sort of let my mind breathe. Be in my own space, create my own vibe with the tunes and the people that I listen to on podcasts, and just creating my own energy. So gonna go and throw a ball in the hole for a bit. Good morning, world. Whoa, now. I say that I usually hate the early mornings, but today, as much as I would appreciate some more sleep, it's nice to be in alignment with the world waking up as you're waking up, do you know what I mean? When it's got that peaceful, not many people are up yet, hum in the air. And actually this morning, I reckon I got about 7.5 hours of sleep, which is pretty good. I don't feel too bad, like once I've Once I've splashed some water in my face and brushed my teeth and got dressed, like, I'm in a good place, man. So I'm gonna raw dog the beginning of this drive and have no music and just let my mind breathe. It's a Monday morning. I'm determined to film more shit this week. Can you even see me? I don't even know if you can even see me. Oh, there we go. I haven't even looked at this clip. But okay, this is my drive. That's 1 hour 27 minutes. That's what it's saying now, before traffic has got more intense. Anyway, new week. Let's smash the shit out of it. Look at that, you can see me better now, and I've got the microphone on for better audio quality. Everyone's winning. Yeah, the sun's starting to rise. It's 7:34, so what's that? I've just driven for nearly 40 minutes, just thinking, just with my own thoughts, just lamenting on existence and my environment and what I'm seeing and what I'm thinking about and feeling. And I always get this same feeling when I'm driving at an early time like this to uni, because I live in the countryside of South London. I'll let this geezer across the road because I'm a good bloke like that. No worries, mate, enjoy your day. I live in the countryside in the south of London, right, and I go to uni in more central London, basically, a proper London. So I have to do this drive through all these housing estates and eventually across Blackwall Tunnel and past by Canary Wharf and drive past big skyscrapers, and I always get this sense throughout the drive that we're doing something wrong as a race. I mean, let me start with this, right? There's this feeling, there's actually a word for it, known as sonder, which is the feeling you get when you realize that there are so many other separate lives from yours going on around you that these individuals are living out. There's so much conscious experience separate from your own. They all go through their own struggles, their own traumas, their own joys. They all experience the spectrum of the human emotion in a completely independent context and set of circumstances to you. And that can be an overwhelming feeling. What lane do I need to be in here? I reckon I'm okay here. I might not be though. No, I'm fine. With their own lives. There's so much life going on around you that you have no idea about. People that you're never going to interact with, that will remain strangers forever. And to you, they're just, a set of headlights coming towards you, or the car in front of you that's going slower than you'd like, or the many people you see waiting for a bus at a random bus stop, or the people you see now, I see just sort of squeezed into a bus like sardines in a can. And I go, wow, like, is this what we were built for as human beings? We should, my brain goes to things like we should, and I don't really like the word should anyway, but we were, car thinks I'm gonna crash, we were in tribal communities where we'd work for each other, and we'd have our roles, and we'd have to survive against the forces of nature, and we'd maybe, we'd build fires and hunt animals and collect resources and build shelter and survive against the natural forces of reality. And through that there was some sort of community feeling, and I don't think that's there when you're a jumble of different people waiting at a bus stop, not really interacting. And the amount of people I see just like 6:35 on the road in a transit van going to a job they probably don't even like, and it just makes me go, wow, like, number one, I'm so bloody lucky to do what I do. The fact that I can just like learn about stuff and play basketball right now in my life, and that's all I need to do to sort of get by and have a good experience. And number two, that maybe we've missed a point somewhere along the line. We've prioritized profit and innovation over happiness. We've prioritized sticking to what everyone else does and getting a job that pays the bills, and you go to an organization and you wear fancy clothes and you say yes to your boss and you do your paperwork rather than prioritizing things like your own happiness, or maybe things deeper than happiness, like fulfillment and joy and peace and spiritual depth, you know? I just could be some little annoying 20-year-old entitled knobhead in his car waffling, but that's what you signed up for by clicking on this video, I guess. Alright, Doris, shut up. Nothing's like the first caffeine hit driving past Canary Wharf, man. Whew. Into Blackwall Tunnel we go, man. Well, now, I feel like I want a specific tune. I don't know what tune, but let's have a look at my like songs here. As we're... Oh, mate. Can you play... Ooh, what do I want? Can you play... Ooh, let's talk to Siri.
What would you like to play?
Can you play Be Careful, It's My Heart by Bing Crosby, please, mate?
Be Careful, It's My Heart by Bing Crosby, now playing on Spotify.
Oh, excellent news. Into the tunnel we go, baby.
Be careful.
It's my heart. Alright, we made it. What's the time now? 8:34, so what was that? An hour and a half, essentially. Hour and 40 minutes? Yeah, something like that. Between an hour and a half and an hour and 40 minutes. Not too bad. I actually enjoyed the drive. Good thinking time, good music time. Went through Greenwich. Pretty beautiful. First time I've ever driven that route. And now I need to do a big shit. What a tune! Let me pause the vibe for a sec now. My lecture was fine. It was not like, you know, I wasn't intellectually stimulated as much as I ideally would. Did I really learn anything proper? I don't know. You know, there was links to studies that I haven't read and stuff like that I could expand on and satisfy my curiosity by looking into more if I wanted to. But, am I taking this turning? No, the next one. But it was fine, you know what I mean? I know now what the coursework requirements are for this module. I don't know if I'm going to show up to this one on Monday very much. I think I'm going to prioritise the Thursday one definitely, because that's in the afternoon, so my drive will be easier. And maybe the Tuesday one because a smaller class. It's like, I think it's the least picked optional module, which I kind of like, because then you can build a bit of a close relationship with your lecturer and stuff. And the Tuesday one is not ideal though, because of Gruntwork Tuesday actually. We can't really move Gruntwork Tuesday, man. Gruntwork Tuesday is like a staple of the week. And now this guy is just stopped in the way of where I need to turn. That's hugely helpful, mate. Thank you. Cheers, mate. Thank you. Are you letting me go? Oh, you legend. Thanks, are. So yeah, on the way to training now. Got an hour and a bit, I think. An hour at least on court. Gonna do some, yeah, like I said, I mentioned this earlier, didn't I? But actually, what's happened differently is I'm having a personal development session with a very lovely lady that works in my uni, and we're gonna maybe talk about some bits regarding my schedule and mindset in the next 6 months in the lead up to Worlds and see what she's saying. So yeah, man, update side, it's raining now. It's not as sunny as it was, and we're creating vibe to get hyped to train. So let's do it. I'll stop for you at the zebra crossing because I like you and I'm legally obligated to do that. Yes, no! Sorry, mate. Come on. close angle's mad. And that ginger tea is good. Today, you can already tell I just rolled out of bed. But today is Tuesday, which means many things. But in particular, most profoundly, it means one thing. It means it's time to grunt.
Who's this bloke? What's going on here then?
Right, it's Wednesday, which is the day where I can focus on my own intellectual curiosity, philosophical curiosity. Like I basically write about my own ideas. I don't do any uni work, I don't do any training, and this is my plan over the next sort of 12 to 14 weeks, is have Wednesday as a consistent day where I can do my deep thinking, because it's so meaningful to me and it balances me out and it restores me to then go and do the things that I do out in the world and train and show up in a better way. And so I've just been writing for about 45 minutes on 2 ideas, and I love it when I have a small little spark of inspiration of something I've been thinking about, something I've learned from a situation, something I've read that seems interesting to me and I've noted down to elaborate on further, and then I start writing and it develops into its own thing, its own theory. I don't feel like that's me that does that. You know, I feel like it's some sort of creative force in the universe that possesses me while I'm writing. And I'm really happy with these 2. So I'm going to try and now elaborate them to you and see how it goes, to sort of consolidate my own understanding. And then I might further explore them in the podcast later on this evening to then you'd be able to bring them up in, I don't know, a talk, or I don't know, we'll just see. But let's just roll into it, right? The first point actually came from last night. I was on the phone to a friend of mine from my old university last year, and we don't speak that much anymore. We probably have a phone call once every 2 months. I haven't seen him physically since June, but we do have good conversations, and immediately the conversation has a level of depth when I talk to him. We do the usual life debrief stuff and go over events, but then the conversation takes on this different energy. It's the energy I get in the podcast. It's the energy I get with my closest friends when we speak. It's deep, it's meaningful, it's fulfilling, right? And we actually reflected on that during the conversation. That it's these deep chats, which is the exact phrase that has come up throughout my youth in my closest friendships. It's those deep chats that we are looking for from close friends. And why is that? That's what I tried to explore. Now, what it suggests to me, because it has come up across all areas of life, where it's friends I've made through school or family members or friends from sport, it's everyone's seeking these deep chats, right? These meaningful conversations. Why is that? I think it's a level of true connection when you have that conversation with someone, and it's what we're searching for. We are extremely social creatures, and we're all looking to really connect to our environment and the people around us. Connection is something that fulfills us to the core and makes life worth living. It makes us feel truly alive. And a deep interaction is something that gives us that pure connection. So that's the question I tried to answer, right? But depth is not an easy thing to come by. You don't just have immediate deep chats with everyone you interact with, right? The strangers, the acquaintances, even the buddies that you do stuff with in the world, there's not necessarily a level of depth there. Because depth requires commitment. Both parties in that interaction want to pursue depth. They need to want to pursue depth to get there. It also requires sacrifice of the enticing, expedient things. Having your attention actually focused on the situation and not on the multitude of distractions that you could be spending your time doing or could be focusing your attention on. And it also requires you to be willing to be vulnerable, right? Because to pursue a level of depth, you can't hold up any social persona. You can't hold up any idea of who you are that you want that person to think that you are. You have to be your imperfect, idiosyncratic self in order to reach a level of depth. So many thoughts then came from this. And the hypothesis I came to, which kind of links to the stuff me and my mate talked about last night, I think, which was, in order to pursue and perforate through surface level interactions, to find depth in a conversation, in interaction, in one of your social bonds, it has to be about that person as an individual. It has to be about them and them only. Now, what do I mean by that? I'll take you back to when I was 14 years old, and I really enjoyed playing PlayStation. Fortnite, Rainbow Six Siege, FIFA, I think, was sort of in the mix there. And I had a group of friends that I used to play PlayStation with on a regular basis, multiple evenings a week, multiple hours across the week. But they're not really my friends anymore. And I have, no resentment towards those guys. We had good memories. We had a lot of laughs. But there was no real depth in the interactions. Now, one or two of them I would see outside of a gaming environment and we would talk. And that would be nice. But the ones where I only interact with them when playing a game, it was only surface level. And I realised that that's primarily because it wasn't about them as an individual. It was about the thing that we did. They were a cog in the machine, or they were a cog in the pattern of playing PlayStation. I needed those people to jump on Fortnite squads to then play. I didn't really, at that moment, care about the context of them as a person and their own emotional experience and their own perspective of life. I just wanted somebody to play games with, to have fun and distract myself from the problems I was facing in life or the things that I needed to do but didn't want to do, if that makes sense. You could fill that role with any particular person that wasn't a knobhead and that I'd sort of just rub along with. I didn't have to have a deep connection with that person. They just filled a role. They filled a social role, in a sense. And then I go and think about it, I'm like, okay, well, is there any level of this depth that we're looking for in deep chats, in the kind of transactional human relationships that we all necessarily have to go through to just be a person functioning out in the world, right? I'm talking about the barista that serves you coffee, or the what did I write here? The petrol station employee that you buy fuel from, or the drive-through person at a McDonald's drive-through, right? When you're buying your junk food, you see them as just you only see their social role and their social persona in that environment. You're only interacting with that. I'm only interacting with you in order to exchange currency with you so I can buy my petrol without breaking the law. And at that time, I'm not seeing or interacting with the real person as a whole. And that's why the interaction isn't deep. Now, I'm not saying I want to have a deep chat with every single stranger. I'm not saying I want to have a deep, meaningful conversation with the guy that I buy petrol from. But I'm saying I think this is the applicable rule across our social relationships. If you treat somebody in a transactional manner, if you only interact with them in order to fulfill one of your goals, or to move you closer to fulfilling some sort of motivation, then you're not going to find depth in that relationship, because it's not about them. They are just fulfilling a social role for your own egoic intentions, if that makes sense. So then, from that, what can we apply? What kind of principles can we come up with to try and find depth if that's what we want? Well, you have to see the person as an individual. You have to care actually about them and them only. Not seeing them just as the role that they're playing in that particular environment. You have to apply your theory of mind. Understand that they have their own emotional experience and perspective on the world and belief systems and view of you and their own idiosyncrasies and imperfections. And then actually care about that. Be with them. Have a level of conscious presence with them. Not just trying to use them to serve your goal in that situation. And that means you can't have some kind of real intention for the conversation. You can't have a goal that you're trying to fill. You can't have a way that you're aiming to manipulate them or have a specific outcome of where you want things to go. It has to just flow. It has to be an empathetic, conscious, playful, flowing interaction. That's what depth is. It's meaningful, it's significant, it's fulfilling. And I've written here, when I was writing about this, I just got this link in my brain, and it feels like, yet again, I don't know if I talked about it in a specific vlog like this, but I definitely talked about it on the podcast, and I think in some written posts maybe, but it feels like we're coming back to the difference in the two worlds that the left and right hemisphere of the brain attend to, right? Now, I'm not going to go into that full context because that's long, but essentially, the left hemisphere views our social relationships as not on object, but maybe object is the right word. They view other people as stuff we can manipulate in order to serve a specific function. They're like a decontextualized aspect of reality that we can manipulate through our words to then serve a goal, right? The petrol station employee, all I see is his persona as that employee. And I go, okay, I'm at pump whatever, give him my money, leave, right? He's just a cog for me to fulfill the goal of filling my car up. Whereas the right hemisphere wants to see the world in its full context. And so the right hemisphere is required to have a deep conversation because you have to see the person in their full context as an individual. Like I said, with all their imperfections and emotional and an independent emotional experience from you and everything else. You know, seeing them as their whole person, their individuality. Wow, that's a lot. I feel like I've been making some kind of sense. And then I drew a little diagram here showing that you've got you and you've got your social persona in the world. And then you've got the world, and then you've got someone else's social persona in the world, and then you've got them. Now, the left hemisphere is only really interested in us acting as our personas in order to fulfill some kind of goal. Whereas the right hemisphere sees the whole context of that diagram and wants you as your fully your fully self-actualized self interacting with that person's fully self-actualized self. I think that's what I'm on about. And that's why we have deep chats. That's why we want deep chats. Because we want someone to notice who we actually are. You know, we don't want to just be interacted with as tools in the environment. We want people to address us for our individuality and our uniqueness. Because that gives us some level of joy and meaning that we rarely find elsewhere in life. You know, I'm a weird guy, right? As you can probably tell from the last 11-minute rant that I've just done about this. But when somebody is willing to listen to my yap and we're willing to have a conversation about deep topics like this, and they respect the fact that I've tried to research and write and think about this kind of stuff, there's no better joy like it. That's why I love the podcast so much, because me and my co-host have this really close bond. He's one of my closest brothers, and we can talk about stuff like this. We can treat each other as the real, unique individuals that we are, and we find true meaning from that. Now, the second point that I wrote about is shorter. Don't worry, I've just spoke for 12 minutes. Let me just have a sip of coffee and let me sort of restore myself. The second point was a point about the idea of home, right? I was reading, this term I've just started a environmental psychology module, which is all about how our interactions with our immediate and larger scale environments affect our patterns of thought, feeling and behavior. And at the end of the first lecture, we had to read this paper on analysing the psychological landscape or the psychological effects of first year university students moving from home to their university accommodation. That change in environment, how does that affect their thoughts, feelings and behaviours? Now, I don't really want to talk about the purpose of the article because it didn't really interest me that much. But what did interest me was in the literature review, the authors talked about the concept of home. Now, there's this one short paragraph that I screenshotted that I'll put up on screen now and I'll read to you. And it states, "The concept of home transcends the material characteristics of domestic space. It is a space that people have made meaningful, situated geographically and socially, imbued with deep feelings and vested with emotion. The very concept of home suggests that it is a key element in the development of people's sense of themselves as belonging to a place. Home is a focal point of one's experiential space, quote, the central reference point of human existence, serving as a unique place of familiar, known and predictable activities, people and physical elements. This importance of home is emphasized through the state of well-being many experience following its presence, vicinity or accessibility, and the state of distress caused through its absence, remoteness or inaccessibility." Very, very interesting. Now, the most profound part of that for me was the quote from an author called Relf in a paper in the 1970s where he said that home is the central reference point of human existence, right? And this suggests to me that home doesn't necessarily have to be a physical place. It might be, right? If you ask the question of what is your central reference point of your existence, you might say your childhood home or where you're currently living. In a physical sense, that's true. That's where you go home at night to rest most of the time. That's where you eat most of your meals. That's where you do your resting and relaxation. That's where you kind of come out of your battles with the world and can have a level of restoration, right? In a physical plane, that's true. But what about our central reference point psychologically or spiritually? That doesn't necessarily need to be a physical space. Maybe that's, as I put here, maybe it's a person. Maybe it's your significant other. Maybe it's a parent. Maybe it's your best friend in life. Or maybe it's the philosophies and the values that you have inside you, inside your own mind or in your heart or in your soul or whatever term you want to use. And it makes me think about that Marcus Aurelius quote that I talked about last week, talking about the function and value of philosophy. It gives you an internal home that you can return to restore yourself from the quarrels that you have engaging in the external world. It's somewhere you can go back to revive yourself spiritually. That's where I think the quote, "home is where the heart is," comes from. Your central reference point for your human existence might be a physical space, but also isn't it amazing if it could be somewhere inside you? And maybe I'm saying that because I'm in a position in life where I don't really know where my true home is anymore. I go back to my childhood home and it feels like a place I can stay where people I love exist, but it doesn't feel like home anymore. And then where I live in London is still very new and very fresh, and it still just feels like a place I sleep in order to have the adventure that I'm having here at the moment. And so maybe for me, the closest representation of home is my own mind, is my own philosophies, is my own values and principles about what I think matters in life and what I think I should do with my existence. But I think it's an interesting way of looking at things. And maybe your home is where your heart is. Is your heart where is your heart your philosophies for life and what you love and what you appreciate and what matters most? Yeah. And so should that be your central reference point for your existence? Maybe, yeah. And I put here finally then, if your values and philosophies about who you are and what your life is about is your home, then going against those principles, going against your values is the way to leave your internal home. Be internally homeless. Live an authentic, unfulfilling life. Leave the home within yourself. Very interesting. Anyway, I've just yapped for 17 minutes, but this is what I do now in these kind of videos, and I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to continue working on some stuff for like another hour and a half, and then do a bit of training. Thank you for listening. Whoa.
Joel Clifton, yeah, please sub and comment and like. But on a serious note, the content is very good. It makes you think about yourself and your life differently.